Miami, the city of dreams, the craziest supercars, most beautiful women, money, fame, success. It's like a playground for the elite to do whatever they want, whenever they want. What about the other side? Those who value success and financial freedom, but don't gain security from worldly things. What about those who choose family, kids, moral values, and building something bigger than just a social media presence? And quite frankly, being a 35-year-old single rich guy in Miami, posting on their story about Art Basel events seems like the hell I never want to visit. This is why I'm leaving Miami. It is official. I am currently so unhappy with who I am right now. And if you saw the title, Miami ruined me. You're either watching this video for two reasons. Either you know who I am and you've been plotting on my downfall and you're sitting behind the camera right now and you're like, yes, I'm so happy. And if that's you, I hate to break it to you, you're probably not going to be as happy as you thought. Trying to prove to me why moving to Miami wasn't a good decision. Or you have been following me, you're always one of my loyal supporters, and you always want to learn from the lessons that I'm going through, because that's what I committed to when I created this channel. I wanted to share John Mark Stevenson. I wanted to share my journey. I wanted to share me starting as a confused 18-year-old who thought that almost all the guys who made videos online were super cringy, and I just wanted to make videos that I could watch myself. And you're going to learn a lot from this video. And you might be one of the people who you've never seen one of my videos ever, and you're like, is this just another Miami guru making a video about how Miami sucks? And I want to tell you, you're going to learn so much in this video. If you're planning to move to Miami, this is going to help you. If you hate Miami and you think every single person in Miami is just some stuck-up guru, this video is going to help you and it's going to educate you. And I want to kind of share my story a little bit. So I sent it down to Miami when I was 19 years old. Yes, I was making money. I was making $50,000 to $60,000 a month at the time. I hadn't been doing that for a long time. I'd been making money for maybe, real money, like above $20,000 a month for probably 4 or 5 months. I made my first online coaching sale back in September of 2023. But I'd been trying to build businesses since I was 12 years old. I had a bike shop in my community out of my garage when I was little, where I would fix people's bikes because I loved riding mountain bikes, especially during COVID, because all the bike shops were down. I started that back up when I was about 16. But when I was 12 is when I originally started it, 13, 14. But I didn't have the discipline to stick to it. I wanted a truck so bad when I turned 16, and I didn't live in a family where my parents would buy a car for me, let alone pay for me to go to college. So my dad was just like, you want a nice truck, make money and buy one for yourself. And that was always the principle that was instilled within me. So I tried to develop this app that would help you do your homework better. I spent months writing it up, developing it, 15-year-old me. I was calling app developers, pushing the process through. And then we finally got to the point where, it was time to try and make the app. And I was told that it would cost about $15,000 to develop. And looking back now, if I had the tools that I had today, I could have done it for so much cheaper, and it actually probably would have been pretty successful. But that really kind of ruined my confidence. And so I set out for something that I could do to make money. Throughout high school, I worked so many normal jobs. I worked at Jersey Mike's. I was a lifeguard when I was younger. I started working when I was 14 years old. I was a lifeguard. I worked at so many different places. I was a chef. I worked as a dishwasher in a Mexican restaurant and then a server in that Mexican restaurant. I worked at Copeland's. I worked for a junk hauling company. I worked for a moving company. I would drive DoorDash. I would do TaskRabbit. TaskRabbit was huge. Once I started my entrepreneurship journey, and I really, really started, and I was working about 3 jobs at the time. I was a server at this restaurant called Copeland's, and then I was doing junk hauling during the day, and then I would also take up TaskRabbit jobs. So I built up this, database where, and it was tough. I had this little Acura TL sedan from 2006 that I bought myself cash because obviously didn't get to buy the truck that I wanted. But I would literally, when I would get like landscaping jobs, I would take my lawnmower and I would like take the bolts apart, fold it up, put towels over the back seats, and like I would put the weed whacker, fold it up, and the lawnmower folded up in the back seat of the sedan, drive to Atlanta, do the lawn job, take it out, put the mower together, put the weed whacker together, and I would do TaskRabbit. And it was nice because, TaskRabbit is this app where, let's say you have a piece of IKEA furniture and you want it put together, or you have a plumbing problem and you want it fixed, right? You can access professionals that will do that for you. And it's super nice because you don't really have to have certifications. You can just show what you're doing. Obviously, if you've never mowed a lawn before and somebody hires you to come mow their lawn, they're going to know you haven't done it and you're probably not going to get more jobs. But, I was pulling weeds, trimming hedges. I was mowing the grass all for my parents when I was, 9, 10 years old. I would do it for my grandparents, and I actually started a lawn mowing business. I couldn't really drive myself, so it was just, my parents would take me when I could, and then I would walk to some of the houses in the neighborhood, and I would mow their grass. So I had a really good understanding of, being personable. I really put myself out there, and I'd always wanted to make money. But once I found out about online coaching after failing Amazon FBA, after failing, trying to do an e-com store, after building a candle business, because that was the only business that I could actually make something with my hands, which I was good at, that didn't require me to get a manufacturer. And I built this candle business for men. And let me tell you, candles were the last thing. Like, I don't think I had gone in 17 years of living at the time, or 18 years of living, I don't think I had ever lit a candle in my entire life. But it got to the point where, the business before that, I had this like journal business that I was trying to create, because I was going based off of, what I had liked in my life. And the past year and a half, I'd been super personally developed, quit smoking weed, started waking up early in the morning, went from like the most popular kid at my school to wearing a collared shirt and eating my meal prep, because I was also bodybuilding at the time, and reading self-help books outside, where like the weird kids sat. Like, I went from the top to the bottom because I wanted to achieve my goals. I didn't care what it cost. I got to this point in high school, and I'm going to get back to the story about the journaling business, but I want you to understand where I was at. If you're struggling going back and forth, picking businesses and trying to scale, I got to this point where I was like, man, the only thing that I care about right now, the only thing that my 18-year-old self cares about is like clout and girls and showing up and being the man at, every party that I go to. But I thought back and I was like, my whole entire life, when I've only worried about what I currently want rather than I want in the future, I end up regretting it and looking back and being like, damn, why'd I spend all that money? I think when I was, lawn mowing and all that stuff when I was little, like, I worked my ass off. I think I saved up like $2,000 or something like this, and I spent it all on airsoft guns, all of it. And so by the time I was 16, I didn't have the money that I wanted to buy a car, and I had to work my ass off again. And I was like, man, if only I had saved that money, because when I was 16, I didn't give a shit about airsoft. But when I was 12, 13, 14, that was my entire life, as well as mountain biking and stuff. And I was like, if I would have just thought, what does my future self want, rather than what does my current self want, I would constantly benefit, because the future is always coming, but the past is always gone. When I sat down to make this video, it's already gone. You can go and you can scroll back and you can watch it. But what I said, and I can't go back to that. So I'm always currently focusing on what's coming in front of me. What's coming in front of me. There was this quote that I created, and I said, maybe somebody else has said this before, but if you go back 2 years to my old aggression talks, I would say this, and it was this quote, and I would say, sacrifice in the present for yourself in the future. Sacrifice in the present for yourself in the future. And once I started to live like that, and I started to think, okay, well, if I was currently 18 at the time, and all I cared about was the parties and, smoking weed and, girls and having clout, by the time I'm 25, none of that will matter. And I was like, everyone around me is they're so consciously imprisoned by this like status quo. And I was like, and I've gotten popular, I've done this, but all of my friends and everyone around me that I was trying to look popular for, I didn't even care about these people. They didn't even really benefit my life, but besides having more clout. And so I started to think back and be like, man, when I was 14, if I would have thought about when I was 16, that really would have benefited my life. And if I was 16 and I thought about when I was 18, that really would have benefited my life. And I started to see this pattern where I had this obsessive nature where I was really good at getting things done. But I was like, man, instead of obsessing over the current, whether it's a new airsoft gun that I wanted to buy and obsessing over getting the money to make it, or a new bike that I wanted to buy and obsessing over the money that I needed to make to get it, or the car that I wanted when I was 16 and obsessing over getting the money I needed to get it, I was like, why don't I start obsessing over future goals that maybe I haven't matured into yet? And this is really when life started to take a turn, because we all know, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you're constantly thinking about your current desires, your heart is going to become infatuated and you're going to become entangled in all these current desires that feed your flesh. But if you can start to constantly think and provide yourself with the idea of a future that you want, even if your heart isn't emotionally entrapped at now in that current stage, the more you think about it, the more that will start to become your identity. And we live in bodies, we live in a world, we live in a universe that everything entropies. God created us with a time span. Doesn't matter if, it's an old car outside will rust. The Ferrari that I drive now, within 10 or 15 years, it'll probably be rusted, parted out, someone else's car. Maybe the car lasts 15 years, you never know, but we live in a world of entropy. This building in 100 years, it might not even be here. This apartment will be somebody else's after this lease is up, right? And so everything is entropy and everything is constantly dying. So if you're constantly focusing on the current, all you're doing is you're trying to, set a standard that's already there. But if you're focusing on the future, you're constantly focusing on growth. And so I unlocked this code when I was 18, and I started to just obsess over, like, what will my 22, 23-year-old self want? What will my 22, 23-year-old self want? And I was able to disconnect from all of the emotional bullshit that was happening at the time in my life when I was 18. And so I had changed my life, started waking up at 4 a.m. every day, stopped smoking weed, stopped vaping, stopped drinking, stopped going out, stopped staying up on my phone, deleted all my social media, and I started to create this routine called 5-4-5. And for those of you guys who don't know, that's what I built my entire fitness coaching business around, the 5-4-5 method. It's five goals, overarching goals that reflect where you want to be over the next 3 to 6 months. It's a 4-step morning routine that reflects those goals. Meaning, if one of my goals is I want to be 225 pounds, maybe the very first thing that I do in the morning is, I hydrate, drink some water with creatine, and then I do 50 push-ups. Now, those 50 push-ups aren't going to build muscle towards that physique, but the morning routine is more so to center my mind around those goals and remind myself and extrapolate more emotion and recenter me on where I'm going, right? So 5 goals that reflect where you want to go over the next 3 to 6 months. A 4-step morning routine, and then 5 daily tasks that also push you towards the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So never things that are like every single day. If I'm going to train every single day, so that wouldn't be a task. A task would be needle moving activity, right? A needle moving activity. So maybe that day I need to restructure my program in the gym. I need to get, this certain day because I'm training legs, I need to get 200 grams of protein, and I need to get a certain amount of carbs, and I need to make a video. That would be a needle moving task that's outcome based. So I created this routine, completely drastically changed my life, right? Destroyed all of my dopamine intoxication. I didn't have social media. I went from social media and listening to rap songs to, reading books, waking up early in the morning and just like enjoying my environment. And I was able to work so hard. I developed this like superpower to work and focus like I had never had before. And so once I actually failed all these businesses and found out about coaching and started posting on YouTube and, started to gain clients, started to learn the business, 5-4-5 was the method around what I sold that allowed me to get so many testimonials with my fitness clients, help them transform their mindset, transform their physique, and help them, they would bring me referrals because the program was so good. And if you sell somebody and theirs is, they get a great result, they're going to want to go and share it with their friends. And so I tried to start that journaling business that like had the 545 rooted out of it, didn't work, and that's when I transferred into coaching. But, as I started to build my business, I made no money for like a year of posting and just posting, didn't know what to do, bought a couple mentorships. Some of them were okay. Some of them I didn't do enough research. I was buying like paid ad mentorships when I didn't even want to run paid ads or have the money. And so, I kind of just started to understand like how the coaching thing actually works. I remember I made like, I was a personal trainer at Crunch as well after that happened. And while I was trying to build my business, because I was like, oh, maybe this can teach me how to sell better. And so while I was training at Crunch, then I started to get some online clients, $500 here, $350 here. My very first client, I remember I closed him for $400 through the DM, and it was a friend of mine from school, but he wasn't like too close of a friend where we like knew each other, but like or where we hung out with each other, but like we knew each other on a sense of like, he knew who I was and he would watch my content. And I remember when he paid me $400 through Stripe in the DM, I was like, oh my gosh, this is more money than I make in like a week, working like a normal job. This is insane. Obviously I was making more money than that, but if I were to just work at like Jersey Mike's and make sandwiches, unless I worked every single day, which I was finishing out my high school classes online, then I wouldn't have been able to make that. And so that's when I really started doubling down on how can I get more of these clients. And, I built a business. I did 3,800. I remember October I did that. November, I think I did like 4,000 or 5,000. December, I did 7,000. In January is really where I took it to the next level, January 2024. And you can go watch this progression in my YouTube. I made like $17,800 with my coaching in January, sent it, moved out into my first apartment, and really set on my mind, okay, I'm going to move down to Miami. Not because I idolized the lifestyle, but just because I needed to prove to myself that I could go down to Miami. And I remember every single day I would wake up, it'd be cold in Georgia. I'd be meditating 4 a.m. before I moved out into that very first apartment that I lived in for a couple months. And I would literally meditate and I would picture myself on a balcony like this in Florida. I would picture myself around that environment. And I wanted to go so bad. I didn't know why. I just had this deep intrinsic desire to move to Miami. And I think I had been like once with my parents. And so moved into that new apartment, kept scaling, learning YouTube, got to 25, 30K a month consistently, went down to Miami for the first time, was like, man, this is amazing. This is so sick. I have to move down here. Worked my ass off, 40, 50K a month, bought the TRX in April, and then 60K a month, May, 60K a month, June. I think it was like 49, 57, 59, and then I had like a 68K month right before I moved down to Miami, and I just sent it down here, knew absolutely no one. And everyone was like, you're going to regret that. Miami's such a bad place. This is terrible. But I was so fixated on I need to be around people who are maniacs like me, who don't see any limits to what's possible. I need to be around success. I need to normalize all of these expensive things. I need it. Sent it down here. Took so many risks. And I know you guys think, oh, well, you had money. And, I was 19 years old. Bro, the first time I ever flew, I think I only flew with my family like once when I was growing up. But the first time I ever flew down to Miami was that March of 2024. First time I ever flew by myself. And then, I came down to Miami. I moved down in July by myself. Knew nobody. Bought a $5,000 a month apartment. And I just said, let's fucking go. Waking up at 4 a.m. every single day. Very, very selective with who I was hanging out with. Didn't go out, didn't party, didn't do any of that stuff. And I just built. By the end of the year, I was, I started, what happened was, I'd made 60K a month. I'd made about $500,000 with fitness coaching by the time I moved down to Miami. And I moved down to Miami, and by then, I was getting so many people DMing me and being like, how are you making $60,000 a month? Because they saw how much money I was making. Yet, you only have 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. You only have 6,000 followers on Instagram. And so I started business coaching people, but I didn't market it. Because I think it's very, very stupid. A lot of these guys are like, I made $20,000 a month. I'm going to help you scale your business. It's really, really stupid because just because you've made a little bit of money for you, it's It's much harder to do it for somebody else unless you've done 3 or 4 times that amount of volume within yourself. Like if you haven't made, if you barely made yourself 10K a month, you can't teach other people how to make 10K a month. That's why the coaches who coach coaches market is so stupid, because there's so much YouTube education that a guy closes 3 clients, he watches videos on YouTube and he's like, I'm gonna be a business coach, and that's just not how it works. Right? But I did it the right way, and I had guys DMing me. I never posted about it because that would have ruined my offer. Most guys don't understand that. They're like, oh, well, I sold 1 business client and I'm doing fitness coaching. I'm going to post both. And then they end up making less money, and then they're all over the place. But what I did is these guys DM me and they're like, bro, can you coach me? I coached them. I was helping them out. And, once I made my first 3 clients $10,000 a month within like 2 months, I was like, all right, I'm going to start doing this thing. I love it. I'm so much more passionate about doing that than like tracking macros and stuff like that. So that's when I really started doing it. And by November of 2024, so I've been down here like 5-6 months, I had already crossed $100,000 a month, no ads, all organic. I bought a Lamborghini Urus with 8,000 followers. So I had a TRX, a Lamborghini Urus, and I just went fucking crazy. Once I closed all of my own deals, posted all my content, no setters, no ads, nothing. All me and my business partner, which he just kind of like gave me some guidance. And he, I just locked in. Then once I hit 100K a month, I hired, 2 sales reps, absolute beasts. I made sure they were guys who like cared about the people in my program as much as I did, live in the building with me. We're all aligned on the same mission to help guys with info businesses make more money. March, bought the Ferrari, had the TRX, the Urus, the Ferrari, living the dream. We were going up, 180, 200K a month. March, we did like 280. April, best month that we had done so far. We made 384,000. And, the market goes up. The best marketing coaching is what we're going into right now. November and December, you really build that momentum. January, February, March, April, going into the summer is the biggest time for online coaching, no matter where you are. So obviously we fluctuated up and down, and my business still makes multiple 6 figures per month right now, but we're getting ready to go into the high season, and I'm very, very excited. But let's actually get down to, now that you understand kind of what it was like, let's get down into like the actual premise of me wanting to leave Miami. I've been in this city for 18 months. I've met some people that I never would have met having stayed, living in Georgia. I've built great connections. I've learned so much. I've broken so many limiting beliefs that I have. But I've gotten what I need out of this city. And if I were to go visit myself when I moved down here, I don't even think I would tell myself to do anything different other than break my limiting beliefs faster, because everything was so necessary. I would still tell myself to move down here. Best decision I've ever made. But I knew in the back of my head, like, my calling is to raise a family, raise boys, raise some little girls, have a wife, build my relationship on the rock that's Jesus Christ. And like, I never wanted to raise my kids in Miami. I said that from the day I moved down here. Yeah, I'm going to stay here for a couple of years and then I'm going to go home. I would never want to raise my family here. But it's just getting to the point now where it's like, I'm ready. I got everything that I needed. I broke so many limiting beliefs about my environment. I'm ready to go and build something. And I love Atlanta with all of my heart. And, like, there's so many people who they leave Miami because it's too expensive. I'm not worried about the expenses. It's just the way that I feel when I go back home. There's so much peace. There's so much connectiveness. One of my biggest motivations for making money in the beginning was to spend more time with my family. My little sister's a junior in high school. I know how difficult that is mentally in a day and age where social media is the ruler of our children's brains. I want to be around her. I want to influence her in the right way. The few guys that I grew up with that I'm still close with today that I love live there. All of my family lives there. And man, I'll be honest, I grew up in Alabama before I moved to Georgia, and my whole life has been outside, building tree houses, building zip lines, playing with my imagination barefoot outside in the woods. Like, that's how I was raised. My mom, when I was little, didn't let me play video games until I got this old Xbox 360. And the rule was after I'd played outside for 2 hours, I could play the Xbox for an hour. And after playing for an hour, I felt so defeated because I was like, man, I've just spent an hour and I haven't accomplished anything in real life. Real life has always been my true video game. And so, you know, I've just never been the type of, like, I've always been an adventurous person wanting to go outside. And just recently, I feel my soul just crumbling away. I'm so interested in, like, deep conversation with other individuals and guys that are my age. And already down here in Miami, almost all of my friends are 30, 35 years old. When I was in Georgia, you know, when I was in high school, all my friends were seniors. When I was in Georgia, when I was, 18 years old, right before I moved down here, like, all my friends were like 24, 25. I've always gravitated towards an older group just because I had to grow up fast. My speaking had to mature fast. Like, when I was little, I was talking to adults instead of, playing with the other kids constantly. So this is just how I was raised, and I just feel a piece of my soul every morning missing. Because here in Miami, everything is at your fingertips, but the things that I actually want, aren't. I can't go out and go hunting. I can't go take the boat out and go wake surfing on the lake shore. I could buy a boat and get it a coastal edition so I can run salt water through it and host it at the marina and do all this stuff. But it's like, it takes an hour to get anywhere. It's not homey. Like, I miss being in the woods and being surrounded by trees. I grew up mountain biking. It's one of my favorite things to do. Can't do it. I've got to drive an hour and a half if I want to go shoot guns and, all these things. And I think Florida's a great state, but just there's nothing like home where you grew up. And all the connections that I have in Atlanta now, it's such quiet money. But I know people who are so much richer than anyone in Miami. One of my mentors developed Atlantic Station. If you know what that is, if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's one of, like, the biggest developments in Atlanta. He's huge in real estate. He personally advises the Cathy family. He's played golf with Donald Trump. Like, he's a really old guy, goes to my church, but, he just, those are the beautiful relationships that I want to foster and that I want. And man, I'll be honest, I'm so tired of living in a concrete box in the sky. I'm currently in the process of getting a contract done with this house that I want. I'm really, really excited to show you guys how that goes. But I would advise anyone who's planning on moving to Miami, do it for a year, but do not lose yourself. And thankfully, I haven't lost myself, but I feel that ability to be myself not being there. I'm so tired of being fit in with these, like, oh, you live in Miami, you're immediately some, like, course seller. All of you guys who have watched my story and like, I really haven't changed at all. I have a nice watch, nice car, but, like, nothing about me has truly changed. I'm just so far from my home. And I in all honesty, I like to wake up and I like it to be cold outside. I like knowing, man, there's not that many people here who are doing what I'm doing. Man, like, I've got to go out and hustle. When I feel disconnected from the success, I feel so much more motivation. And here it's just like, not that it feels too easy, but the whole environment is just like, every time I look at a 40-year-old dude who's, like, flexing supercars and watches on his Instagram, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you've got, like, the fucking Rob the Banks and the Wes Watsons. I'm just like, at 20 years old, sure, maybe I have some more money than me, but, like, we're living the same lifestyle and we think about the same things. Like, you're 40 years old and instead of being with your family and your children, you're, like, having boats and hose parties during Art Basel. To me, I don't relate with that, and it's very uninspiring. It's very gross. It really makes me feel like even the guys that I do respect that are here, that are, like, 30, 35 years old, just like the Miami bachelor life at 35, like, you're just fucking hoes and, hoping 22, 23-year-old girls who are coming down to Miami, like, they haven't been flown out and driven in a Rolls Royce before. it's just so gross and uninspiring to me. And I'm so tired of being in that environment. Now, like, don't get me wrong, there are beautiful people here and I love them, but Miami's an hour flight from Atlanta and it's such a great vacation spot. But I love the feeling of just that grungy lock in. There's nothing going on except what I have going. And I have this huge passion to bring and build the info space in Atlanta. There's so much potential in Atlanta. There's so many young, smart entrepreneurs, but there's just this vibe of like the only way that you can make money is by going to college. And I want to, I want to build a gym. I want to host events. I want to bring that community aspect to Atlanta. And quite frankly, I'm just tired of the culture down here in Miami. I never matched it. I told everyone when I moved down here, I don't like the culture, and I would still move down here. 18 months later, I would still move down here when I did, even knowing the things that I know now, because deep down I knew them, but I don't need it anymore. I don't need that environment. I don't need that constant show of success because I know what's inside of me. I know what's possible. I know what I can do and what I can accomplish, and I really want to take that to my hometown and expand. And I had this conversation of, it was like Grant Cardone and Patrick Bet-David were talking a while back, and Grant was like, Patrick, why do you still live in California? And Patrick was like, oh, it's so beautiful, this. And Cardone was like, no. The government is terrible. The taxes are terrible. The people's terrible. The culture's terrible. Sure, it's a beautiful view. He's like, but you treat California like a prostitute. You don't marry it. You go there, you visit it when you want it, and then you go back to, what you're married to. Now, it's a bit of a dirty analogy, but if you think about it, like, that's what Miami is for. Like, Miami is not where you build, raise a family, have kids. It's gross. It's gross. Now it's beautiful to look at. It's exotic. You'll learn a lot of lessons from it. There's a lot of really cool experiences that will build you as a man that you can have here. A lot of really good connections, but you don't marry Miami. And I'm just like, I've had my experiences. I've had my time, and I'm just so excited to go back to Atlanta, live in a $2 million house, have my truck, have my Ferrari parked outside, be able to have my family over for dinner, go to the lake 30 minutes away, go ride mountain bikes, go hunting, go shoot guns. Like, those are the things that I want to express on my channel because that's truly me. That's what I grew up doing. Dirt bikes, lake, tubing, extreme sports, cliff jumping. Like, those are the things that I did. Skiing, all of these different things. That's what I did growing up. Riding four-wheelers. I had a four-wheeler when I was 7. I bought myself a dune buggy when I was 12 years old. So sick. Thing went like 40 miles per hour. It was dope. That's how I grew up. I grew up creatively expressing myself through adrenaline, through being outside. And, business has allowed me the access to do all these things, but I feel like I'm trapped in this prison where the only thing you can do in Miami that's fun is go drive your supercar around, flex on girls, or go jump on a yacht. And to be honest, it's never been on my style. I've been on 3 yachts since I've lived here, and I don't go pop bottles. I've gone out occasionally, said what's up to friends, but I'm so disgusted by the people I meet there. 28-year-old women who are like, I'm looking for a husband, and they're out in the club dancing, shaking their ass with their tits out. I'm just like, ooh, I don't want this. Does that exist in Atlanta? Absolutely, but it's not that overarching feeling. You don't feel it when you walk outside. So I would say to you guys, if you're planning on moving to Miami, do it. Best decision you'll ever make. But give yourself 12 months to come down here, learn, extract as much knowledge as you can, get as much momentum as you possibly can to take skills, and then go back somewhere and build where you're passionate about. I'm ready to be around like the real entrepreneurs. I'm so tired of being around these other people. And being in Miami, what do you attract? You attract kids who are dreamers, who their biggest goal is to buy a supercar. And my best clients and the people that I work well with, I've had plenty of kids buy supercars and they're dreamers and they buy my program and they're successful. But like, I consult on a daily basis multiple 40-year-old dudes with kids with coaching businesses, like coming to a 21-year-old to consult them on how they can scale. And I'm just towards that high level conversation. I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I've generated millions of dollars for my super high profit business since I started, since I started coaching in just the past few years. And I'm just not on the level where, I'm talking about like how you can make your first posts anymore. I'm so much higher level. And that's what I am so passionate about. And that's what I'm really excited to expand as I go back to Atlanta. And, I'm so excited to be seen as like, that'd be so inspiring to me. I don't know a single dude right now who's like 20, 21, 22, who like lives in a dope house, is actually morally correct, makes a ton of money. There's a couple of guys in like Dubai and stuff, but that's different. But just like kind of lives in their hometown and makes tons of money. And that's the standard that I want to set. And in Miami, it's really, I have all my dream cars. I could care less about getting a hypercar. I could get a hypercar instead of getting a house, but I could absolutely care less about doing that because I have an SF90. Like, what else do I want? Like maybe a Maybach, and like cars are cool. I'm not saying I'm never gonna get cars again, but in Miami, it's like, I think it's the most retarded thing ever to be like, here's my apartment. And all the guys that tell you they live in like penthouses, it's just an apartment. In any other city, this would be considered a penthouse, but it's just an apartment. It's just an apartment. So, but like living in an apartment and owning a Bugatti, living in an apartment and owning a $4 million car, this is stupid as fuck to me. And I think that attracts the wrong audience. I want to be shown to more of the guys who are like me. I want to be shown to guys who want to make millions of dollars, that want to have a family, that want to buy a big house. I want to be shown to guys who are looking to truly build something legit instead of just grabbing cash as fast as they possibly can. And so, just gonna wait for the... Because that, to me, it's not appealing. I'm in the reality of building real business. And when I moved down to Miami, I needed it so bad because, you make money for 4 or 5 months, you still have that fear of like, what if this all fails? At the time, I didn't understand that, having an online business is actually more secure than working for some corporate company. And all of the people who are still brainwashed, like, what are you talking about? It absolutely is, because working for some corporate company, the second you get cut, the second you say something not politically correct, the second, the company needs to replace you with AI, the second the company needs to maximize profits, you're gone. You're absolutely gone. And when you have an online business, it doesn't matter how many times you've failed. If you're the type of person who can bet on yourself, when you learn sales, when you learn marketing, when you learn fulfillment, when you learn how to scale, how to sell, and how to build people, like, bro, you could fail business 10 times. You're always going to have a chance at playing in the game. I would rather be given skills than no skills and have a spot on the team just because I've said yes and I've been a yes man. And that's what people that work a normal job do. And I'm so excited to now take that back to Atlanta and really build something massive. And it's super cool. A cool announcement. I know you guys have known that I've had my 100X mindset where I've coached fitness coaches, but we've had dozens of traders, real estate guys. I've got a landscape guy that's killing it right now. He built a 7-figure landscaping business and he teaches other landscapers how to do it. I've taught guys who have home cleaning services businesses, and they're teaching people how to start that online. I have, door-to-door sales guys who are scaling that, window cleaning business. I've got guys who, just so many different info businesses. It's super, super, super cool. The traders are really, really fun to work with. And just seeing that you can teach a skill that you've learned so many different ways. I've got mobile detailers as well. It's just so fun to me. And just because we've gotten so many results, we're coming up on about $15 million that I've generated for my clients, which quite frankly, just in the past 2.5 years is more money than I've made myself. And my principle has always been, I will make my clients more money than I will make myself. And it's just, we just have such amazing results. And so I'm really excited for this new company I've created. It's called Scale Info. I own scaleinfo.com. And it is more of, it's still consulting, it is still coaching, but it's for guys who already have established what they're doing and they're taking their business to the next level. We run their fulfillment every single week. We're providing the best performing videos throughout our community with scripts, how to post them, hooks. We're providing video editors. We're providing sales training. We're providing sales guys. We're providing setters. We're systemizing businesses so that you can drive passion back into your business. Because once I noticed when I hit that, once I passed $20,000 a month, I lost all passion. I lost all the passion that I had within my business because all I was doing was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And I didn't have that creative freedom that I had at like 5 to 10K a month. And so my entire goal with Scale Info is to help guys double or triple their revenue while giving passion back into their business. So what they can do is what they love the most. They can post content and they can deliver their product. So if you're a fitness coach, our entire goal is to systemize all of your backend, systemize your content, systemize your stories, systemize your fulfillment, systemize your sales process so that you can get on calls with clients when you want them, have clients have KPIs in between your calls that they have to do, and then post content based on the system that we provided. So you don't have to think too hard about coming up with ideas. All you have to do is wake up, your clients are being managed, you're getting on calls with them when they have them, and you're posting content. So you can make money doing what you love with Scale Info. And just because we've come up on, we're getting really close to 1,000 testimonials. We have over 250 video testimonials, multiple guys making 100K a month, dozens of guys making 50K a month, probably over 100 guys making 10K a month right now. And it's just super, super cool to see. And if you want an idea of those systems that we're actually going to be implementing, if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, by the time this video has come out, we'll probably have started going ahead and launching that. You can click. It'll probably be the first link. Just find the link that says Scale Info in the description, and you can kind of get an understanding of the software that we actually provide and how we integrate it into your business. I'll still be working with guys who are wanting to scale their coaching business one-on-one. I'm tired of guys who just have a pipe dream and they can't even speak. They don't even have a good physique. And they're like, I want to make money online because I saw the Bugatti. I hate that bullshit. I hate it. I want guys who are actually driven, looking to make money, no bullshit, want real systems so that they can execute. Because it's not my job on a day-to-day basis to hold your hand and be like, remember, you want to make money. I'm here for fucking killers that actually want a system so they can work hard, build their business, crush $100,000 a month and beyond. And I'm really, really excited to share that venture and that journey with you guys as I transition into Atlanta. So, I'll have more info about this. I'm so excited for you guys to see my family, see more of like who I was growing up in my childhood. But I really feel like this is a really, really strong commitment that I've made to you guys. And I feel like this is me caring about you to the next level, because if all I was worried about was just myself and my business, I wouldn't leave Miami. Find another 21-year-old who's making tons of money who wants to leave the hottest women, the this, because I'm not worried about the hottest women. I'm worried about women that are intelligent, that love God, women that want to be a mother, women that want to, raise children. Like, I'm not worried about the flashy success. I'm worried about building real wealth, and I'm really excited to move into this next house and take you guys on that adventure with me. And I appreciate all of you who have supported me so far. We're at 35,000 subscribers. I could have been pushing this YouTube way, way, way harder, and we could be at 250,000 right now. But like I said, I feel like a piece of me is in Georgia, and I'm excited to take you guys back there with me so that we can take this channel to the next level. I can constantly put out more value to help you scale your business, help you to build a better man of yourself with your life, so that you can continue to stay aggressive, honor God, scale your info business to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Stay tuned for the next vlog, and you guys will see a vlog of me moving into that house where I'm going to reveal it coming soon. I love you, boys.